2020 was a big change for a lot of people. It was the biggest change for me. A whole new life that I never thought possible. It had some ups, but mostly downs, and I grew as a person. This is my recounting of what happened as I look over old journal entries, photos, and events. I'm asking you to join me as I keep myself accountable by being honest and open about my experiences last year. Almost 15 minutes to get out the door after I was ready. So depression's kicking in. It's only been 3 days. I wasn't late for work, but I felt my mental health take a steep nosedive. I have no food, no money, and my car is now out of gas. So at this time, like, my wife and I only had our joint account that we've always had, and I didn't feel at liberty to start pulling from that. I didn't know. I need someone with me. I don't know who that's going to be, but it needs to happen soon. This is where my brain started to go. I'm like, I'm so lonely. I went from waking up in a bed with, although a distant wife, I woke up in my bed for 10 years, and I'm waking up alone on a couch, not knowing if I'm ever gonna go home. So incredibly lonely. I felt I had no one except friends. I had lots of friends, I had lots of support, but nobody who was willing to stay with me and be my comfort and be my warmth. Yeah, I was definitely starting to toss around the idea of finding a platonic friend with benefits at this point too. It had been several months since I had been intimate with my wife, and now it's been a week and a bit since I had even seen her. I know that seems like a really short time. I didn't go looking, but the thought had started to come to me. I slept well all night, but I feel unrested. I felt lifeless, uninspired, automatic, like a husk. I'm describing depression, but I didn't know really what it was. I'd kind of been half depressed before, but like real lonely depression. I didn't know what it was. More descriptions of my washroom breaks and my food. Remember, there were some physical issues going on at this time as well as the mental ones. So I was trying to take inventory of what was happening with my body. Hard to hold a train of thought. I mentioned my kid's situation to a friend. This is a friend, a coworker of mine who, he comes by. He's quite a bit older than I am, and in a very different stage of life, but he's divorced, and so he's one of many friends telling me that I just need to move on. At this time, I believe that no, she just needs some space. That's what she says, and I love her, and I need to give her that. It's like I haven't seen my kids in over a week, and when I told him that, I went from completely like dead to pissed right away. Sleeping on a couch off and on is, a luxury in some ways that I was gonna make do with what I could, but it's not mine. I need a place of my own, and 10 years in my house, not a different home, just a place I can call mine. My desk at work, here, my room at home, my workbench, every single one of these, I live in fear of it being taken away from me. That's what I said. Yeah, I didn't have a place that I could confidently say was mine, that I could nest in. I had this urge to nest and settle in, and even my own home. My wife made it very, very clear to me that she didn't like my nesting instincts because it was just, well, it was messy. It's not conducive to a family. I live like a college bachelor, even with kids and a wife. Like, I still nest that way. Now here I got super mad. Wow, saying that I have good reason to be afraid of my wife. She's a liability. Damn woman can't keep her mouth shut and doesn't understand why. Clearly I had a conversation with her, I'm guessing, and she had said something about the situation to somebody. I'm not quite sure what that was. It says my meds kicked in, and suddenly very inspired with building upcoming events and stuff. Really wanted to lean into my business. That's good. I'm going to need to assemble a team to keep me motivated, but there's some great opportunities. Wow, I'm really doing really good. And then by 2:30, that's only an hour and a half later, I was back to being scared. Anything I think or build is a waste of someone else's time. It's true. I don't do well on my own. And when I have people with me, I tend to rely very heavily on them, and I don't have much to give back other than my time. I'm willing to put time in, but feeling very inadequate. And it looks like my supervisor had to speak with me about being absent-minded and then kind of not being totally there. But I felt good because management, I had a conversation previously about management, that I was doing journaling and keeping track of some things, and that was something I was doing in order to keep my head in the game, and management was okay with that. So the supervisor, I took what he said. I was pleasant, but I didn't think I needed to worry about it so much. The friend that I confided in, the woman who was my wife's surrogate, I suppose, told me that she has strategies that she used in the angry at spouse period. Basically, it's over, you need to move on. And so I've heard this before. What you do is you write down everything you hate about them. It's basically a reminder list of why they are bad for you. And it's not necessarily an accurate representation of them as a person. It's just to help you remember that that's a bad situation. I don't know how I feel. I still don't to this day know how I feel about that method. I suppose to someone who takes life a little more simplistically, that might be good because it keeps things nice and cut and dried. For me, I feel like it just would complicate things, as it's something that I'm kind of doing naturally and flipping back and forth between those things. It doesn't seem to have the same desired effect, but it worked for her, so she shared that with me.